See, these dudes kill me. That's what's wrong with this generation today. These young boys today, what do she bring to the table? The hell you mean, man? What do your ass bring to the table? You got a woman that can come to the table that can make another you. What else she need to slide up to the table with? What about your job? What happened to men who were supposed to be responsible? Do you know that it's our job to take care of a woman and some children, to have a family? That's our damn job.
Guys, you have been emailing me nonstop about that particular clip. That is going viral all across the internet, and for good reason. Number one, it's coming from Steve Harvey, who is very acclaimed, very successful, and he has over $300 million in net worth. So coming from a man like him, it might be intimidating for a lot of guys to rebut him because of his success. But at the same time, we know that Steve Harvey is a little bit biased towards women. I mean, do you remember that book, Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man? Of course, we know that Steve Harvey has a female audience, and sometimes he says things to cater to their needs. But today, I'm not dealing with Steve Harvey or taking any personal shots at him or any of the rhetoric in this particular video. I'm only dealing with the concept, and I'm only dealing with what he's talking about in this particular short. Now, one of the first things he talks about is men in this generation. Remember hearing that? Men in this generation are not like the men of the old generation. And when he makes that statement, it's a very dangerous statement to make, because what he's insinuating is that men of this generation have changed, but the women in this generation are the same. That's very dangerous, Steve, because the men in this generation are particularly how they are because of what they have experienced with certain women in this generation. You see, Steve Harvey doesn't want to deal with that. He's acting as if the men are just somehow much weaker, which we can say in each generation, yeah, the men in this generation are not like the men in the other generation, but the men in this generation are comparable to the women in that generation. That's something that we don't want to deal with. And so he's also talking about the fact that the women in this generation don't need to bring anything to the table. That's his whole argument. And he starts making the ad hominem against that argument and starts saying things about like what do you bring to the table? She brings life so she can create another you. Now, in that particular argument, it's very weak because we act like women can just go up to the mountain and just do like some voodoo or something like that, and after which life comes. The fact of the matter is that she needs a man to create another you. Now, I'm not disparaging women or trying to say that, childbirth is not significant or it's not a hard process. I understand carrying a child for 9 months and then giving birth to a child is one of the most courageous things any human can do. And men cannot do that. I will give women that credit for that. But now we have to understand that you can't do it by yourself. And that's something that he tries to shy away from, as if, these women are able to create this life, and because she can create another you, that's important. But there are a lot of women who can create kids and they are not valuable ladies. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are women out there who have kids by multiple men and can't raise any of those kids to become successful, or they just don't have the capacity to do so. So just because a woman can give life, that's all that she needs to bring to the table. And this is something that I want to talk about Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey had a very tumultuous career. He started doing very well, like in his late 30s, early 40s. So Steve Harvey had to become somebody to get to where he's at. It took many years of hard work, many years of dedication. He talks about it in all the time, right? Steve Harvey had to do something to become somebody. And that is the case with almost every man. Most of us are not the smartest guy in the world or the tallest guy in the world, and most women would not even consider us the most handsome guy in the world, which means if you want to have some sort of opportunity to mate or date, especially if you're in, the United States, or if you're in a very competitive state like California or New York, yeah, hey, women have a lot of opportunities, right? And if you want to be in that situation where you can actually get a lady that looks decent, guess what? You have to become somebody. You need to be a very successful man. The issue that Steve Harvey has is, well, you have to become somebody, but how dare you ask a woman, what does she bring to the table? Now, let me just say this. That is a cringe thing to ask someone on the first date. It's uncomfortable. If you were to sit down And the first thing you would do is, take music. What's your name? Yeah. So, what do you bring to the table? That sounds very stupid. And I understand we have guys who watch, certain elements of the red pill and they digest it and they will actually ask someone this on the first date. And it is rather cringe, but it doesn't make it a bad question. It just makes it an uncomfortable question because women have no problem asking you, date music. So where do you work? How much money do you make? What kind of car do you drive? What college did you graduate? All of these things that women ask you are, what do you bring to the table? If you're a guy that lives overseas and you deal with women, they ask you, what do you do for a living? In other words, they want to know what you make, how you make it, and if you don't tell them a salary, women are intelligent enough to at least infer on what sort of career that you are participating in, and they can estimate how much money, that career should be able to bring towards them. In the future, or in the case they decide that they want to deal with you, they're asking you those questions because they don't want to waste their time. The issue is if a man asks a woman that question, it's seen as offensive. And one of the reasons why I believe ladies have a hard time, with that question is because number one, they have no response to the question. Women who have a hard time, guys, listen to what I'm about to say. When you ask them, what do you bring to the table? They're going to have a very difficult time responding to the question. For example, like if you ask me, like, what do I do for a career and what is the process of how I do it? I would be able to go into great detail about it because it's not an offensive question to me. I know that I'm valuable as a creator. I would have no problem going into detail about that. But a lot of women have a hard time going into detail about it. So because they can't answer the question, they'll start to shaming you like, oh my God. Oh, sorry. Angry music. Oh my God. I'm going to get up. I'm going to get out of here. How dare you offend me? Or if they do answer the question, they'll say something like this. Angry music. I'm smart. I'm talented. I'm a hard worker. I'm friendly. I'm a vibe. You always hear that. I'm a vibe. You always hear, I'm a vibe. They always say, I'm a vibe. But if you really notice, in listening to how she articulated that particular response, none of those responses have anything to do with what she can do for you. In other words, in answering the question, she has not even thought about her value to you as a man. And one of the reasons why she hasn't thought about that is because simply she doesn't believe that you deserve anything. And that's the issue with Steve Harvey's overall argument. You're telling men what they need to be. They need to provide for women and take care of women and build families. That's their job. But is it their job to do that for every woman? Or do you have a problem with the fact that men don't see a lot of value in marriage? I mean, do you guys remember this particular clip from last week's episode?
All right, well, the wedding gown retailer David's Bridal seeking bankruptcy protection. The company filed for Chapter 11 earlier this week. It's now the second time that the firm has done so in the last 5 years. While the company is looking to keep stores open and fulfill its orders, brides out there are worried about what's at stake for their special days. Let's get into all of this. We have Jim Markham, CEO of David's Bridal. Jim, it's great to have you here in studio. So I think a lot of brides out there, when they saw that headline, started to panic a little bit. What are you telling brides? What's your message for them? Are they going to get their dresses?
They are going to get every dress they've ordered. Absolutely. We will fill each and every one of them.
You see, guys, that's David Bridal's CEO. Remember that guy? Yeah, because they're going out of business because men don't want to get married anymore. So that's actually the outcome of women who can't answer the question of what do you bring to the table. The reality is this: women are going to have to compete for talented men. They're going to have to do something to get talented men. I know that they don't want to be able to do that, and I know that sometimes women are upset that men are requesting this. This is not every woman, but I have seen a lot of women who have those responses. I am the table. Like, I don't know what that means. Can you guys answer what that means? But the reality is that guys see little or no positivity or incentive for marriage or long-term relationships. So when guys are asking this question, although it's very cringe, they also want to know if you're worth their time. It's just not you interviewing the man. It's the man also interviewing the woman. And we want to keep these one-sided relationships where women don't have to do anything to appease a man, although they do all of this stuff when it comes to working in the industry, going and get great educations, starting businesses. Women will bring their best A game typically for those things. But when it comes to men and what a man wants, they don't feel like they need to do anything for the guy. And now you have the audacity to have an attitude when a guy asks you, what do you bring to the table? Which to me, it doesn't make very much sense. But this is the internet, guys. Not a lot of things make sense. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.